welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, this week we're going to try and do one of our explanatory roundtables to try and decode an issue that a lot of people are now talking about. We heard the whispers earlier. In fact, it was raised in the roundtable about a year ago, but now a lot of people are talking about the metaverse. So if someone especially someone like me who has no clue what is happening, which is why I called in a panel of experts to try and explain to all of us, what is this metaverse? Literally translated, it means beyond the universe. But of course, there is a virtual reality. It's even beyond the internet. It's, early on we were browsing the net. Now I think we are immersed in it. We become part of that virtual world. There are digital avatars by which we can actually go and experience a virtual world. People are buying land in this virtual world. People are actually transacting. There are coffee shops. You can buy a Gucci outfit. That's where we are headed. You can actually have an alternate avatar of yours that lives in this, that socializes there, that transacts business there, that earns money, all this in a virtual world. And we have Facebook, of course, investing in it. That's when I think the attention was flagged off when Facebook changed its name to Meta. And it says it's taking social connections to a whole new level. So what does this exactly mean? And should one invest in it? Why is a metaverse better than a conversation like this, a Zoom conversation which I can have? I'm meeting my friends, I'm transacting. So why should one invest in the metaverse? Joining me to explain these things and answer all our questions, I have a panel of experts. I have Karthik Iyer. He is the founder of Blockchain Monk, an R&D firm that specializes in blockchain technologies. He's also an ambassador of the P2P Foundation, where Satoshi published the Bitcoin client. Karthik has spent over a decade on the blockchain industry and now advises large governments and private institutions on their blockchain strategy. I have Arjun Sodhi. He's an eminent architect and a metaverse consultant. He's based in New Delhi with almost 3 decades of experience. Being a technology-aware architect, Arjun is one of the few professionals today who understands the challenges and complexities of combining a present-day physical world with a virtual metaverse world. Dr. Jayajit Bhattacharya, he's the president of the Center for Digital Economic Policy Research. Jayajit has been in the cutting edge of digital technology for over 25 years. Jayajit, since you are usually my go-to person to explain things, so can I first ask you to slip into your professorial mode and explain to all of us what exactly is this metaverse?
So, there's been a movement towards depicting people in 3 dimension. Till now, what we had was an internet where you had, a 2-dimensional depiction of everything and a 2-dimensional screen to interact with, right? So you would have a laptop screen where you could go to an e-commerce site or go to a browser and see others' pictures and so on and so forth. So it was a limited kind of interaction. In fact, if I go back further, what used to be called as Web 1.0, where you would only be able to download information. You would only be consuming information. Then we moved to Web 2.0, where you could have an interactive session where you could also contribute to the information, which is what led to the social media, the Facebooks, the Twitters, and so on and so forth, where content was coming from the users also. Now we're moving to a dimension where you could actually see other people in some kind of a form and shape, which is what you mentioned as avatar. So which is essentially replica, the digital replica of people. So you could wear some kind of a technology, which is basically a virtual reality technology, which you wear on your eyes, and therefore you could see other people in 3 dimension. And you could create an entire universe out there. So you could have different buildings. You can either have a replica of existing structures. You can have entire Delhi in a virtual reality situation. So you can have Delhi in metaverse. So the same shops that you see outside, you can see them in the metaverse, which means that instead of walking down to the nearest shop, you can actually walk into the metaverse without leaving your home, and then choosing whatever you want to choose from the shop and actually buying and walking off. So that's the vision of what metaverse should be. You can also create a new thing inside metaverse, right? And you can then have possibilities which don't exist in the real world, because you can combine digital and physical, and and you can have, in fact, architectures which the physical world doesn't support. Given that Arjun is an architect, you can do those architectures which defy physics in this metaverse. So it's a whole new brave world out there, We are just placing the first bricks, metaphorically speaking, out there. It's going to be a long, long journey because the standards are still evolving. Are the metaverses interoperable becomes an issue, or we lead to having a fragmented metaverse. Imagine if your internet was different from my internet, is different from China's internet and Russia's internet, then the value of internet goes down significantly. That's also a threat in the internet, but that's a different issue. But we need to ensure that that does not happen in the metaverse and there is interoperability. But there's also the issue of access. These devices which let you have the virtual reality experience and the metaverse experience are quite expensive and are also quite bulky. And if it's
First,
not
get on the positives and what is it, and then we'll go into the downside of it. Karthik, you've been also dealing. There's one Transact business also. Socially we can enter, but you're saying you can also own property. Jayjit says, you can buy stuff. This is not real stuff; it's virtual stuff. So why would I buy it? What will that dress do for me if I can't wear it?
So last conversation we had, Priya, I quoted ISKCON's Srila Prabhupada. This time I want to quote Adi Shankara. So Adi Shankara said, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, that Brahman is the ultimate reality. Everything else is a illusion. And so, we're going from 7 billion people to 10 billion people on the planet. So imagine if everybody wants to own a house, everybody wants to own a car, everybody has to fly for everything. I think we're going to end up destroying the world. So there's a very interesting book written by Klaus Schwab called The Fourth Industrial Revolution. Klaus Schwab's the chairman of the executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, a great visionary, somebody who's written very interesting books about the future. And one of the things that he talks about is how to improve productivity, how to improve human societies with fourth industrial revolution technologies. So instead of like physically moving around, physically traveling, physically sort of exploiting resources like we did in the 20th century, I think people will just be happy living in this mithya, this, as we say in Sanskrit, this illusion that we are creating. But the illusion will not be in the physical world, but it'll be in this new world that we've created, which is like a reality within a reality, which is called as the metaverse. Which is the concept of meta itself is very similar to mithya, that the illusion. In Hebrew, meta means you're dead. It feels like it's an afterlife. But imagine, Priya, if everybody has to be in the metaverse, and already the population in the metaverse is exploding, like Decentraland, you have like Sandbox, you have Roblox, you have a lot of interesting companies, that are building metaverses. And young people in their 15s, 20s, early 30s, they're all hanging around there, big conferences, music festivals, everything is happening in the metaverse. And as you rightly said, you can virtually transport your metaverse, your avatar, into the metaverse, and you could interact with other people. So if everybody's going to be hanging around in the metaverse, then you need to own the land there, and land is finite. And so, the price for Decentraland's land plots have been going to the roof. So a lot of people now cannot afford to buy land, so they have to lease land. So big brands are getting there, and they're all leasing land. There are, brilliant architects like Arjun, and others, I think who are, probably going to sort of capitalize on this revolution. I hope more Indians do that, because India is a country of great art, architecture, and culture, and we are not new architects. We've been building temples for 11,000, 12,000 years, the pre-antediluvian civilization. So I think, if the metaverse is something, it is for India, for Indian architects, for Indian artists, Indian creative folks to leverage this.
What sort of designs have you already been involved in terms of for the meta world, I think, or metaverse? I don't know whatever you call it. Do you use 3D technology? How do you do it?
Priya, thank you for having me here. I think it's a very interesting, environment. Which is building up. It's building up so fast and so rapidly accelerating in different ways that one is very hard pressed to try and understand it fully. I don't think any one of us, and I have very eminent people here from the field, but I think that we are very hard pressed to understand this technology. it is evolving so fast. There is so much of new paces that it takes within a week, within a month, within 6 months. I mean, there has been a huge industry created within the last 1.5 years of NFTs. We don't understand this fully. We must be humbled by it, firstly, to understand it. There is a huge amount of focus on it. People are wanting to put a lot of investments into it. Companies are wanting to invest into it. Individuals, institutions, governments, everybody wants to utilize it for the best possible, goals. However, we have a responsibility to try and create what we think is a safe environment. There are laws and legal experts. I'm sure experts like Karthik and Jayjeet are looking at ever evolving legal references for this kind of environment. But what I'd like to explain to you is, how did we come here? What causes us to move towards this metaverse? Why is everybody wanting to stream into it? Let's say, because it's a digital world, it's virtual, it is not tangible. All throughout history, we have found that entertainment, aspirations, dreams, trade, everything has caused people to congregate. I think that we must understand that this platform, digital platform called the metaverse, whether it is one metaverse or whether there are multiple metaverses being created by different, people or institutions or industries or let's say governments, what we have is people wish to come on board to experience something, to interact with each other, to forget the hardships they're facing for the momentary entry into the metaverse. That is how movies occurred, music occurred, entertainment, events, artwork, everything is to elevate the human senses, right? We work hard every day, then we like to relax and unwind.
Is it just entertainment? I mean, now it looks like there is, you can even do business over there. That's
of course. So of course, I'll explain that to you. When I
take a break.
Yeah, when I come into the virtual world, come into a place called, there are so many of them, 5, 6 places where you can buy virtual real estate. When you enter that, you wish to create an identity. You wish to create an experience for somebody. Whether you have a company, whether you're an industry, whether you're whether individual, right? This is the key. When you create that experience, people come and visit it. That is going to create the trade. When there is footfall, like there is in social media, you have huge amounts of advertisement. You have people coming in to see what it is. It's curiosity, but you create an environment which can then catalyze industry and consumer products and virtual products.
Okay, got it. But Jayjeet, if it's a non-tangible world, if I'm going to meet a friend, but I can't hug the friend, then the whole experience of the meeting is not there. So is it just, I still don't get it.
So we're already doing many things which are virtual, right? You're buying crypto and you don't get a coin in your hand. You're using UPI and you don't see a rupee in your hand. You're buying online and, the goods come in subsequently. So there are products which are completely digital in nature. And then there are products which arise from digital and then become physical. And the other way around, where there are products which are physical and then become digital. So when you buy your stocks, you buy them, as stocks, and then they become digital when they go into the exchange. In that sense, the share certificates get dematerialized. So there is a constant movement from physical to digital and the other way around. And there is therefore value in both the physical and the digital. The value depends on what the market perceives as the value. Right. So, you have had multiple conversations on crypto. What is the value of one Bitcoin? It depends on what people are believing that value is, because they can derive some value out of it, whatever that value may be. And therefore, in the metaverse, if people are buying quote unquote plots of land, they believe there is some value in it because probably, Nike or Reebok or somebody else is holding the next plot of land or next shop. And when people in the metaverse come and visit those shops, then perhaps they'll also come down and visit your plot of land that you have bought, and therefore you can get some economic value out of it. So that's how the economic value is coming up in the metaverse.
What all are people buying? Are they, in terms of, people are already buying land. You're saying that land is already running out, but it's a virtual space. So how is land running out?
Yeah, no, this is very interesting because I was explaining to my father about, a consulting project we did, where this big artist was looking to do a concert in the metaverse, and he wanted to purchase virtual clothes or meta clothes and virtual shoes. There are a lot of sneaker brands now in the metaverse. There's a lot of fashion designers in the metaverse. So, and there are avatar designers who basically, transport the avatar into the metaverse. So there's a whole new economy. I mean, you have to let's assume that you want to have new sex on the metaverse. You have to first, buy a land on Decentraland, and then you have to get a, 3D virtual designer who can build an Unreal Engine or one of those technologies to build the studio. And then you have to, have marketing and branding people who put banner ads across the metaverse to promote your TV channel. And then, we'll have to create these big streaming walls where people can watch the show on the metaverse. And then if you're going to be, transported to the metaverse, you'll have to have a virtual avatar of yourself. And so you'll have to have virtual glasses, you'll have to have virtual clothes, so virtual chairs. And there's a huge economy there.
Too much of an effort for just doing this. I mean, I can do the same by just a Zoom call.
Well, it is, but the whole idea is this idea of immersive reality. So the 1980s was all about text interface. So the way we interacted was through text, and then we had graphical user interface, was 2D. Now the next, the whole history of software development has been about the raise in level of abstraction. From machine language to, as we look at text language to Windows and Apple, and now this is the next level of evolution where we have this immersive reality, which is also a thing which is very dangerous, because if you use a VR headset, I mean, it feels like you're there, at least in 2D, like in this conversation. If the conversation goes badly, you can just walk away. But this immersive reality, there are all kinds of issues, all kinds of complexities that are coming in, which is why, I think it is very, very important for governments, like the government of India, to start regulating, because with the billions of people are going to be there, it's important for us to control the narrative. It's important to regulate some of these things, because violence in the metaverse feels real and abuse in the metaverse feels real. So it's not just the joy and the elation that one feels in immersive reality, but also negative sides of things. So we are in the technological singularity, Priya, where the pace of change is exponential. So we can no longer wait for governments to catch up, but governments have to anticipate some of these things, as Arjun and Jayjeet rightly pointed out, from a policy perspective. So I think these are things which are very, very important for us to grasp and make sense of.
I think your design, how do you design? I mean, what all have you been asked to design?
Actually, what happens is, in the design part, it's a specific kind of software that you use. It's more like video gaming, right? It's not got the physics. It's not got the structural limitations. It's not got limitations of height or of municipal bylaws. It's got no. You have unlimited freedom to create whatever you like. Within that set parcel of yours. Whatever you say, you have to position it somewhere. So the parcel of land is what is called the plot of land. And it's a certain given specific size. You can buy many of them. You can combine them and create a lot. You can create a single piece, or people invest into it so that they can rent it out. Well, you design with, there's a voxel software where you can create a slightly older looking environment. You can create Real Engine, which is video gaming. If you can create anything that you like with passion, I think you will be able to inspire people. And that's what is the metaverse. You need to walk in. Anybody who comes to your place, the aesthetics, the beauty, the grandeur, the allure has to be that he should go back with a memorable experience. So that is what designers like us are trying to do. We're trying to enhance the experience of a visitor for a company, for a product, for fashion, for consumer products, everything. I think for a home, it's where you walk in and he can exhibit. A person who's a tech tech enabled software millionaire would like to buy an NFT and exhibit it to his friends, he'll invite them to that environment. But the NFT is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions. If you don't have an environment to exhibit it, like Satvi's has, a great show going, which is, you have to continuously prep it. This content has to be live. It's not that you do something there and then you forget about it. And then, next month again, you do something. It's not like that. You have to purchase something, build an environment, and then stream live into it. So whoever comes at whatever time, in whichever time zone, actually has something to see. And you've created an experience for them to come in. And that is what is
not just visual. There's also audio. Instead of just designing a home, there's obviously you'll have to. Yeah.
It's even haptics. Now haptics are so complex that you can actually feel. I can feel the handshake that you do. That's what's being developed now. That's why I'm saying technology is moving so fast. You can taste. Something if you lick the screen, special screen. That's what is happening, but it's very nascent. It's not something which is common. You can actually smell through the metaverse if you have the right equipment. Of course, it's expensive, but it's going there, and that's the excitement. That's the key that people expect, and we hope and we dream, and we will engage in an environment where we can actually do whatever we do in a physical world. We can do it over there, and that is going to drive consumerism, which is huge capital, flows. So that's where we are, I think.
There is the downside of it. Apart from getting people interested, it sounds very expensive. A lot of equipment you need. Do you see this actually happening, and how long do you see? 5-10 years?
So it'll be evolving as as both Karthik and Arjun said. We are really at the starting line, or even not even cross the starting line in that sense, because so many things have to be figured out. But the moment there is a new technology, it disrupts the current fabric of how we work and learn and live and so on and so forth. So things like Karthik mentioned, abuse happening, and therefore who's the regulatory authority that will regulate it? Is it under
your favorite question, isn't it?
Is it under the Indian government, or is it under the US government, or is it under the UN or ITU and so on and so forth? So if there is a avatar created by a German does something which to an Indian, who's responsible for those behaviors? Under whose jurisdiction are these plots of quote unquote land being sold? Which government recognizes it? What are the civil suits that will happen, and so on and so forth. There's lots to be fixed and to be regulated, so that there is a much more amenable operating framework that is out there. As of now, it's a wild west, right? And that's how technology develops. First, it has to be wild west. We need to allow people to develop and then see what's going wrong, rather than jumping in right in the beginning and say, hey, lots of things are going wrong, so let's let the government step in. There will be a time that we would need government and / governments to step in. And there are many things that are going wrong as of now. There are abuses going on, there will be disputes going on, and there will be the issue of suzerainty in the metaverse that will happen. And will it be that the corporates will dominate and not the government, and the governments don't have a space? Will governments be subservient to corporates and say, please let me have a virtual embassy in your metaverse, otherwise I don't have a presence? And embassies can be shut down by companies. So those are some of the issues that will start coming up as we move forward. But it's at least 4 to 5 years away before we start seeing these issues in any significant manner.
A quick last point, Karthik. So do we see now, for instance, Facebook has got a first early mover advantage. So will there be like the Facebook land, and if Microsoft, if someone else comes, it'll be the Apple comes, it'll be the Apple land. Where do you see this going?
Yeah, there are about 100 metaverses now, Priya. So this started, in fact, the concept of the metaverse itself is very old. There's a book called Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson, where he talks about this idea. It's from the 1990s. So people have been.
It's not a utopian.
It's this whole utopian land, and there are about 100 metaverses right now. And one of the things that people are doing now is to basically build this teleportation machines or software where you can teleport between metaverses. So, for example, Decentraland, Sandbox, you'll have Facebook's Meta, you have Roblox. So all these metaverses that are coming, and And so, you could move from one festival in Decentraland to, let's say, an after party in Sandbox. And so these things are currently in play. I mean, there'll be standards, there'll be APIs, and there'll be integration between multiple metaverses. But I think it's going to be very exciting because the growth of metaverses is not linear, it's exponential, which basically means, it's like we'll see the future happening much, much sooner than we think it will happen. So it's a very exciting time to be speaking about it, very opportune and very as you say, the highness hot. You got to strike when the highness hot, right? So it's like that right now.
Arjun, any last word of caution from you? Or you think right now is the time for optimism? Arjun.
I think we should be optimistic. I think we should be cautious, but we should be optimistic. It's going to lead to a lot of I think that we only touched upon one or two of the main topics, but there's a lot of social impact of the metaverse. There is a lot of impact on corporate social responsibility. There's a lot of impact on sustainability, conflict zones. Everything is going to be affected by this metaverse. It's not just entertainment and industry. It's going to be in every sphere of our lives. And
that makes
in
it sound like the real world. Yeah, sorry, I'm just cutting you short because we are totally out of time.
Absolutely. It is. It will soon merge. You see, the virtual and the physical world are going to merge in a point, which is a platform, digital platform, and it will develop through that. And that's where people, governments, institutions, we all have to come together. It's collaborative. It cannot be singular. There is no one company going to rule this environment. It is collaborative. We will have teams where people like Karthik and Jayjeet will be sitting with environments and people and deciding, and we'll be sitting. I could be sitting and talking about the environments that are being digitally created, but it's all collaborative. There is no one person.
Okay, we're totally out of time. Thank you so much, and I can see this is a conversation that we'll need a whole lot more time for. So I'm going to call you all back. But until then, thank you all for this. I would say beginner's course on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.